Welcome to Inside Track with Bruce Ash and Ed Wilkinson on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Hello, everybody, and a very pleasant good morning to you, wherever you may be. Bruce Ash and Ed Wilkinson coming to you live and in color from the Ultra Luxe Essential Pest Control Studios here in Southern Arizona. Thanks for joining us today. We have another action-packed show for you on Big Wednesday. Chris did a great job with the Wake Up Show, as always, here earlier. Great to hear from Congressman Juan Ciscomani. Great beard he's got going. He looks like the who is that beer guy that was on for a long time on the TV in the commercials?
The Spanish
the
guy?
most interesting man in the entire world.
Yeah.
Very cool. As always, following late breaking news from around the world and here in America is what we'll be normally doing. But today's show is going to focus on all-time movie bad guys. Is that a safe way to describe what we're going to be doing today, Bunker?
The face on the wanted poster.
The face on the wanted poster. Yeah, these are bad dudes. Bad dudes. And some bad gals, too.
We got
right?
a couple of bad ladies here.
So more to follow on our big topic here in just a second. Eb, and I hope you'll support. Eb, you got the next one.
Hey, Bruce and I hope you're going to support our sponsors who help pay the man, my company, Wilkinson Wealth Management, our friend Eric Rudin at Essential Pest, Jamie Kipper at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail, and Bruce's three-generation family company, Paul Ash Commercial. When you call them, please let them know that you found them on Inside Track.
To talk with us or our guests, call 520-771-5101 or send a message to us on the Live the Dream Media on Facebook. First, a couple of news updates, just real quick. Anxious to push back on the Fordo attack over the weekend. It seems like CNN and the Democrats are both blasting the president for unconstitutionally taking action, which hopefully might save World War III.
Bruce, in a mostly peaceful protest,
Right.
Trump and the U.S. Air Force visited Iran
Yeah.
to form a small demonstration and then peacefully leave.
That's true. They did peacefully leave. They bugged out.
That's better than Los Angeles.
And New York City, fun city, never,
Oh, my God.
never disappoints. They nominated a Democrat for mayor, Zoran. I can't, Mandami.
Zohan.
No, it's
I- yeah.
Okay. And this guy, he wants to abolish everything.
Oh, I heard that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a piece of work.
He wants $30 an hour minimum wage. He wants permanent rent caps. Who would own property there with
Who would
that?
want to live in the
Who would
place,
want to live in
period?
there? He wants to tax all the rich people.
Right.
Well, they're bugging out. You saw Sean Hannity left. Rush Limbaugh left a long time ago. Of course, he really left. Trace Gallagher doesn't live there. Who's the gal that lives down in Tubac?
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
I'll
gal down there.
tell you in a second here.
So Zoran is also against taxes. He's against police. He's against borders. He wants free health for everybody. He wants free everything.
He wants to replace the police department with social workers.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Bunker, I think you need to go
Be a
enlist
social
yourself.
worker?
Yeah, need to go be a social worker. That'd be quite
I-
quite a second act for
I
you.
could do that well. I just say, get off your lazy butt and go to work.
That's true. That's
social
true.
work.
Yeah, I drive by the guys on the street with a sign, work for food. I roll down the window, me too.
So before we get to the two galoots here, and you knew this was coming. Okay, it hasn't even been 6 months. Donald Trump's family member, Fred Trump III, says warning signs are there on dementia fears for President Trump. I knew it was coming sooner or later. Drudge has been talking about it for a while, and some Democrats, have been talking about it for a while. And he's crazy, and he's ranting and raving. Although he did kind of do a quick F-bomb rant yesterday about CNN, which was
beautiful.
which is sort of humorous. All right, enough for the news.
He speaks his mind. What's wrong with that?
Let's
Harris
have some,
Faulkner
Harris Faulkner. She lives
lives in
Tubac.
Tubac.
I'll be darned.
And she does the show most times from Tubac.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for her. Let's have some fun, okay? We've had enough about the news. Welcome to Harry Alexander and Bunker de France, who hosts Voices of the West Saturdays at 4 p.m. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. Loads of fun talking cowboy culture from our Western heritage. And these two galoots have been talking about our Western heritage every Saturday afternoon for how many years now?
Oh, gosh.
Since before 2013.
Oh, yeah, easily. 2012.
I would say
We've been doing it together. We've been doing it since 2016.
right.
But with Emil,
Yeah.
that was, when did I start producing that? 2010, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a long time.
It is,
You know,
yeah.
it's interesting. He was doing a 4-hour political show, and he said,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something worthwhile.
Right.
And so the last fourth hour became the
Right.
Voices of the West.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it more than the first three.
Yep.
Trust me. I mean, we had that conversation 100 times, and I know he really enjoyed the time they spent with you two and talking about all the things that you guys do all the time. So if you wanna tune in to Voices of the West, voicesofthewest.net. Okay, .net, not org, not com. Voicesofthewest.net. You should check out their podcast every Saturday. I'm on Wednesday now. You guys are still on Saturday.
Yeah.
So every Saturday, 4 p.m., voicesofthewest.net. What's your topic for this Saturday?
It's a movie Saturday coming up, and we'll be out at the White Stallion Ranch.
Good.
And our topic is Frontier Justice.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And just also so folks know, it's mountain time.
Yeah, mountain. We don't mess with that stupid daylight saving time garbage.
That confuses our out-of-state guests a lot.
But you are at 4 o'clock here.
Here,
4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Right on.
And there's a radio player on the website. Click on the play button and you can listen to the live stream. When we're not there, there's all kinds of great old cowboy music on there.
Yeah, and the music is awesome.
Yeah, thank
You got
you.
to play some of that here on Live the Dream. It's
They should have a Western music show.
You know, yeah,
that'd be great.
we could do that.
Yeah. All right. So,
Be careful what you ask for.
I know, huh?
Faces on the Wanted poster.
Yes.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I want to give you kind of an intro here. Great villains make for great westerns. Presence of a memorable villain. See, I would never make a leading man. A memorable villain can elevate a good western into a classic status and an ordinary one into something well above average. Because think about it. No matter how much you love Roy and Gene, if they don't have somebody to beat up, they don't have
Right.
a show.
Right.
Charlie King or Roy Barcroft, yeah.
The list is endless.
So,
Yeah,
let's talk
focusing on
about the first badass.
the first badass. Oh, well, the first guy I got is a fella named, let me check the list here. Wrong paper. What the heck am I? Oh, here I'm doing. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, the very first guy, the name on the wanted poster is Jack Wilson.
So, tell us about Jack Wilson.
Well, first of all, who here knows who Jack Wilson is? Okay.
But yeah, of course.
Oh, of course. Well, in case you don't know, a fellow named Jack Palance was Jack Wilson.
And he's a badass.
And I think,
Shane.
yeah, Shane, and he kind of set the mark for what a badass should look like. If you remember Ricochet, the cartoon strip, if you don't, shame on you. But hip shot percussion looked exactly like Jack Wilson, except he had a kitty cat.
So, kind of rock, like a sculpted in rock face,
Oh, God, he chiseled
right? Tall, well built,
it. Slender,
sullen.
slow moving. Of course, the interesting thing is, the fact that he was so studied in his movement, he was so slow and smooth. when they was cast, they asked him if he could ride, and like any good Hollywood actor, he said, "Of course I can ride. I can ride like the wind."
Oh, yeah.
They got out on the set. They put him on the horse, and they almost lost him because he couldn't ride. So they said, "Well, let's try it with a little slower." They slower and slower, and George Stevens about this time was ready to shoot himself, but finally they said, "Let's just walk in on the horse." The horse, they've done it so many times, the horse knows where to go now.
Right.
They do the shot, and the horse just lippity clops in, but it set his tone better than anything he could have ever said as the actor. You knew that there was something deliberate about this guy.
So he played a lot of bad guys.
Oh, yeah.
Both in modern day films, detective, police stories
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. He even played the cowboy in
City Slickers.
in the
Curly.
City Slickers, Curly.
Both
right?
Curlys.
And a badass. I mean, like sullen and nasty and grumpy and
More, like it's almost like the true cowboy.
so talk about Jack Wilson and how he played in Shane.
Well, in Shane, he is had been hired by Riker, the old rancher, who settled the valley. It's the old story. We were here first. We drove off the Indians. We fought off the bad guys. We settled this place. And you homesteaders are coming in here and putting fences up, and you're just making life miserable for us. And of course, be frontier justice plug, being what it is. We're just going to burn you out, shoot you down, stuff like that. Well, Wilson comes in and he's talking with Riker, and he's talking now about the Nestors, and there's one particular guy that's played by Elisha Cook. He says, "I really hate that guy. I'd like to kill him." And Wilson says, "No, you'd like me to kill him."
Wow.
And it's just, and he doesn't have that many lines, but the lines are just so, it's like he's standing there when Elisha is, because the street, imagine this, the street is muddy, like western streets would be after rains, especially in Wyoming. And he's slipping and sliding, and he walks up to the general store bar, and Wilson's standing on the corner on the boardwalk in front of him. So he can't go through him, so he starts walking down the boardwalk. Wilson just slowly follows him down the boardwalk. They get in front of the store door, and Wilson's standing there, and he reaches in his shirt, and he pulls out a black glove. He puts it on, and he's like, he's snugging this puppy down. It's like gleaming. It's like kit leather.
Kind of building the suspense at the same time.
And also telling you, and so they get into the dialogue, and Elisha Cook is, "What's your name?" or something. He says, "Stonewall." He says, "Oh," he says, "you're named after that Southern trash." It's funny how all you Southerners are named after that Southern trash. And anyhow, he goads him into drawing, and he beats him. And Cook, he just freezes. He's standing there with the gun in his hand, pointed down. It's over. Boom, blows him away. And they got a cable jerk on him and fling him back. He makes a beautiful splash in the
So is
mud.
that how they do it?
Yeah, that's how they do it sometimes. That's how they did it in that case. When you see him go flying back, and this is one of the great ironies of Western movies, and even the modern things, with the machine guns and stuff, they get hit and they go flying through the air.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Generally it's like a puppet. You cut the string and,
And they drop.
straight down. That's the realism of it. But it's movies.
That's a movie secret we just revealed to all of our viewers.
Don't tell anybody.
So Jack Palance in this role is okay. Everybody knows what happens to him, right?
Yeah.
It has to happen. Do all the bad guys on the wanted posters, do they all get killed? Generally?
That's
Or is that for the next for the phase 2 movie for the next chapter?
I'm not sure.
Actually, when you look at the old Hollywood code, it used to be they either had to be arrested
Yeah.
or killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't get away. Nowadays, sometimes they escape down to Mexico, South America, and did they really die in a hail of bullets, or did Butch and Sundance, take up farming in Pasadena?
All right, so Eb,
Bruce,
who else? Eb?
I'm just sitting here having a great time.
You're not the monkey in the back seat. I mean,
Oh, so you actually want me to talk?
Yes.
Okay, so let me pull up. I had one. Where are we here? Gene Hackman.
Oh, Little Bill. Oh yeah. He's way down the list, but
Well, okay, so this just came up recently. I watched the movie Gene Hackman in what was the one where he was blown away at the very end?
it's Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. Great movie. Now he wasn't on a Wadden poster,
Right.
but great movie. Little Bill Daggett.
Yeah, let me see if I got something.
Not Bill Faggot. No.
Which is how you end up getting shot.
Here we go. Let's see what the old Gazette has to say about Little Bill Gaggett.
Faggot.
I can't talk either. Okay, Unforgiven, 1992. Gene Hackman, he's a peculiar. Well, lightning light is great. Has a peculiar sense of justice, takes sadistic pleasure in humiliating and torturing anyone he mistrusts or disagrees with.
Sounds like a nice guy to go to a movie
Yeah,
with.
it's the guy you want for your local sheriff. Mm-hmm. There's a great scene in there with, what's his name? The English actor. Plays English Bob.
I don't recall.
Okay. Yeah, I should have wrote that down. But English Bob is a famous gunfighter, and he's passing through. He's traveling with a writer because the writer's going to
Richard Harris.
Richard Harris, thank you, and does a great job. But he's traveling with this writer who's going to make him famous in the dime novels. He gets in there, and Little Bill, he's better than the KGB. I mean, he's on him like a June bug, and humiliates him, beats him to a pulp, and sends him packing. The writer stays with him to chronicle Little Bill now. And, of course, about the end of the movie, there's no story there because the story is Clint Eastwood, who has nothing to do with that guy. But it is, he does such a, he's almost, like one person said, he's almost, could almost be the hero, the good sheriff, because, he's building his own house very poorly, but he's building it. And he's almost sympathetic, and you'd almost have pity for him when he's laying there dying. She says, he's laying on the floor, he's just been gut shot, and he goes, I don't deserve this.
Nobody deserves it.
After
Right?
everything he's done, I don't deserve this. And of course, then Eastwood puts a bullet right to
Kind of like the Ayatollah.
Oh, he doesn't deserve it.
And I like the clock tower scene with
Oh, high noon.
So, okay, who's next on your wanted posters?
Okay, you got
No, I'm here for comedic relief.
Okay. Okay, well, this is a gentleman named Ben Vandergroot.
Yeah.
That's a great name, Vandergroot, for a bad guy.
Well, they just go through the telephone book and say that's the name we're going to use
I
until
think
they came up with something.
sometimes that is that, and the screenwriter, he goes, I got this crazy uncle. I think he'll put his name in here.
Yeah.
But the fellow that's playing his actual picture is Robert Ryan.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
A rugged
many-
guy.
Yeah. How many have seen the Naked Spur?
I have. Long time ago.
Yeah,
Long
it is one. It's one of the great Anthony Mann, Jimmy Stewart movies. I mean, it's also one of the ones that really established Jimmy Stewart as not being able to play anything but sweet, nice guys. I mean, he's going to shoot the old man right at the beginning because he's after Vandergroot, who is wanted because he did a robbery and killed a marshal. But Vandergroot, he captures him, right? But Vandergroot is he's not charming, but he is so wily, and he's almost like a psychiatrist that's got you on the couch. He's analyzed everybody involved. He knows their weak points. He knows how to push the buttons, and he just looks bad.
And you know, Robert Ryan had that tendency. He could give a look. I mean, it's like you could kind of feel the wheels turning in his brain as to what he was thinking and what he wanted to do next, or what he was trying to get from a person. He was a great character, character actor in this role.
You look at him in The Wild Bunch, you know, an ex-outlaw who got caught and held and got away, and he's after him, but he has no grudge. He's after him because that's the condition of getting out of prison, and you can see the compromise all through the show, and the scum that he's got for posse, which is an illegal posse anyway. And again, they go into Mexico, which is even more illegal. What the hell? It's a Western.
And Bunker, Robert Ryan was a Marine, wasn't he?
He was.
World War II?
He's a
World War
instructor.
One.
Really?
World War One.
Wow. I didn't know he was that old.
Yeah.
I thought it was World War II.
He may have served in two, but I know he was in one.
Yeah.
He was born in 1909.
Then he wasn't in
He
one.
might have been a little young.
Yeah, well,
They were conscripting him, but not quite
there
that
goes there goes Wikipedia again.
Yeah, and he was born on November 11th,
Hey,
1909.
Oh,
nice.
that's interesting.
He was a drummer boy in the Marine Corps.
But a great actor
yeah.
in a variety of different roles.
The Dirty Dozen.
Yep.
Yeah. He could play sympathetic characters, or I'll just say, we'll say semi-sympathetic, but he would make them sympathetic because he had that capacity of, he looked like an everyday man. He didn't look like one of the pretty boys.
But he was a big guy, though, wasn't he?
He's 6'3", I think.
Yeah. I mean, kind of an impressive figure of a man. So, in terms, what awards did that movie get, or nominations? Anything notable?
Naked Spur, I don't know. It might have picked up some kind of like a Western Heritage or nomination or something like that. Because one of the things which I wish we would talk about more in a way is like the Cowboy Hall of Fame. Ben Johnson, all these great guys that are in there. All the great ranchers, all the great livestock contractors, and they never, that outside of the Westerner, those places just don't get the recognition or that they deserve and the backing. It's like Tucson needs a Western movie museum, I think.
It's a shame that that's never happened here.
Yeah, because we are still the number 2 location after Hollywood for Western movies.
Yeah. All right, let's go to your next Man of the Wanted poster.
Okay, well, Reverend Jonathan Rudd. Anybody recognize him?
I do not.
Joe McRae.
No. We're doing bad guys, Harry.
Well, he can play a bad guy too.
He could, but he never did.
Well, okay.
He played bad guys that were good. He was like a William S. Hart bad guy.
Well, okay, all right. But I know he played a preacher once.
Oh, yeah, he did. That was a good show, too. But this guy that we're talking about is Mr. Robert Mitchum.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
5-card stud, which it's not one of the greatest Westerns, but it's a very entertaining one.
So I think Dean Martin was in this.
Dean Martin.
And Inger Stevens. Shortly before her suicide, I think.
You had Roddy McDowell as the number 1 villain, really the guy that's behind. Another shameless plug for Frontier Justice, lynching. Yeah, they lynch. It's a card game. It starts with the card game. Dean Martin's playing.
Another guy that we talked about earlier before you showed up, Don Collier, was in this.
Yeah, but what happens is that one of the guys playing the game gets caught cheating. So the other guys take him out to hang him, except for Dean Martin, who's had a few, and so he's not really together. but he tries to stop it. And so he's kind of, I think, Vandergood, no, I'm wrong, Rudd, he's come for retribution, but he's come as a preacher.
Now, did he fake that, or
No,
was he really a preacher?
As near as I can tell from the storyline, he is a preacher who, like a lot of preachers in the old days, came from a sordid past. You know, they somehow they found God and they said, you know, hey, I'm going to turn my life around. In this particular case, he may have found God, but he was going to turn other people's lives around
So they could see God, or God could see them.
very quickly. Yes, in fact, there's a what is the black actor's name?
West Studi?
Oh, no, it was Yaphet
Yaphet
Kotto.
Kotto.
Yaphet Kotto. He's kind of like, he's a very sympathetic character. He was like the bartender in the bar when all this happened, and he ends up getting killed because he figures out what Mitchum is up to. Well, he gets killed, and so they're going to bury him, and they take him to the cemetery, and they say, "Oh, you can't bury him here. This is all white people here." And Preacher Rudd says, "Of course we can bury him. The worms don't know the difference."
What a great line.
Yeah,
So I think that was a 1968 movie,
It was.
yeah.
give or take, sort of in the middle.
Exactly
In the
60.
middle of the civil rights movement in the mid-late 60s.
Well, it's when black actors were starting to get roles that weren't step and fetch it
Right.
in the westerns.
Right. Interesting. Hey, we got to take a quick break to hear from our super sponsors. We'll be right back with Harry Alexander, Bunker de France, Eb Wilkinson on Inside Track. It's the Voices of the West special here on Big Wednesday at Live the Dream. No channel flipping. We'll be right back.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576. Or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Welcome back to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
Welcome back to Inside Track. We're here with Harry Alexander, Bunker de France, Eb in the corner at first base here, officiating
Our
the
fact checker.
officiating the show.
Fact checker.
We're talking about those galoots, those awful guys in the movies and gals. Let's
Oh,
talk-
thank God. I thought you were talking about these as being the galoots. I was like, poor
They're
Harry.
galoots also, but they're good galoots.
They're great galoots.
So-
Just like them, they're the guys you love to hate.
So
or hate to love.
let's talk about like the baddest ass female
Oh, okay.
on the wanted poster.
Okay, let me find her here. I got her here. Ah, here we go. Here we go. This is a subtle one. As it could be, it's a tie-up actually, but this is the one I'd go with first. Ma Greer.
No idea. Eb, Ma Greer.
I'm out.
Nope.
Well, think of Jane Darwell. Grapes of Wrath. Mom.
Okay,
Mom.
yeah.
Okay. Well, she was Ma Greer in the Oxbow incident. And she's not only rides with a lynch mob, she helps lead it. Here's this sweet little old granny that's, ready to put the rope around these guys' necks. But just because they're there. And they have no facts, that's what lynch mobs do.
Right.
It's our job.
Acting on emotions.
Yeah, hate,
Fear, hate.
prejudice, and it's. I think it's one of the great movies of all time. I think
It is.
it should be in schools.
So where would Oxbow incident rank in terms of the great American movies? Is it in the top 100? I would think so.
Oh, definitely.
It should be. If it's not,
depending on the critic, it could be even in the top 10. It's that good. See, that's why I don't like best. I like outstanding. It's an outstanding Western. It belongs in Valhalla. That's my two criteria. Outstanding in Valhalla. There's room for gods in Valhalla.
So talk about her character in that movie.
Well, again, here's this old dumpy granny, and it's one of the nice things because she's out there horseback through rough country, nighttime, terrible weather, wintertime, and she's a firebrand. When they're arguing back and forth about shall we, shouldn't we, she's definitely we should. Put the rope around his neck, and you know that if it come down to it, and everybody said, well, I can't do it, she could have done it. And again, she wasn't evil or malevolent. She was just. Well, she's like a lot of people that when they get into something, they get so committed to it that they become blindsided. They can't think of anything else, any other way of doing it. We need justice. And what's really so awesome about the role is when the sheriff comes in at the end of the movie, and he says, "Oh, we got the guy." They go, "What do you mean you got the guy?" You can see the reactions of everybody there. And her reaction, and it's always to me been interesting. It was kind of like, oh shit, I screwed up, but at the same time, I'm satisfied. And the results, got some scum. People that I think were scum anyway, they're gone. See, that's one of the things too. That's one of the elements in film and storytelling, is you create a character, and then you make them either lovable, infallible, or you make them fallible, lovable, or you make them just unredeemable. You got all these different elements, and then when you do a really good job, you put them all together, and you get these different elements so that they kind of jar with each other within the person.
So what happens to her in the Oxbow incident?
She rides back to town with the rest of them. I don't remember her being in the bar though after it was over.
I don't recall
But
that
everybody
either.
else is in the bar, kind of going, "Oh shit, oh shit."
We can say that word on.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Oh, caca.
By the way, this was the last movie ever nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture, which received no other Academy Award nominations.
And it might have been one of the last black and white too, I think.
And I think it was one of the last black and white.
And the other thing too, which is very interesting, is that the director had been wanting to do this picture for a long time, and so had Fonda. And the studio said, "Okay, we'll do the picture, but we want something in return." And Fonda said, "Okay." He did the picture. The day the picture was over, he went down and enlisted in the Navy.
So the year this movie was produced?
This was made in 1943.
So in the middle of the Second World War, what were the political or kind of real time sort of things that affected this movie and the people watching it?
Well, for one thing, nobody wanted to do the picture because it was a Western. It was a downer Western, and there was no such thing as a downer Western. It was almost a noir Western. It was just.
It was a noir Western, no question.
And it was just, the studios were not receptive to doing this. It was a matter that Fonda had the power, and the director, I think it was Anthony Mann. No, it wasn't.
No.
I can't remember.
I don't.
But he had between the two of them, they had clout, but it was one of those projects that even with clout, you couldn't get it off the ground. But because what happens a lot of times is an actor's contract is running out, or they need one more. Well, I'll give a perfect example: Dirty Dingus McGee. Frank Sinatra did that. He didn't want to do that. Burt Kennedy didn't want him to do that, but the studio had only one more picture, and they gave him that picture because they didn't think it would be a good picture. Otherwise,
I never could understand why Frank Sinatra would associate his persona with a character in a movie called Dirty Dingus McGee.
Yeah, and of course the reference to Dingus was quite prominent in the movie too. I worked on that, and that was a fun movie. I read the script before they shot it, and Burt Kennedy wrote a hilarious script. This guy was one of the master screenwriters, and it became, when the minute Sinatra came on board, everything didn't gel. Jack Elam was in it, and he was brilliant. He was playing Johnny Ringo. Who got no respect. He gets run over by the cavalry.
So I think Jack Elam's on your list as well.
Yes,
somewhere.
he is.
Talk about him
Oh,
and his character.
Okay, let me see here. Where is he? I think I went past him here. Okay. Say something, Mary.
It could be any movie Jack Elam is in, and except for support your local sheriff, he's probably a bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, they're real mobile. I found it. Tevis. Anybody respond to Tevis?
Tevis.
No.
No.
Okay. Of course, we know now it was played by Jack Elam. It was the movie Rawhide in 1951.
Not the
Tyrone-
TV show.
Tyrone Power, right?
Tyrone Power. He's a deranged, woman-hungry, escaped ex-con waiting to hold up a stagecoach, and he's more than willing to kill the cute little baby that's out there that crawled out into the middle of the gunfight. I mean, think about it. That is probably the most despicable villain you can have is someone who's going to shoot a baby. And he's going to shoot the baby.
And what happens to this character, Tevis?
He gets shot.
By whom?
Tyrone Power. But here's an interesting thing. This going back to the silence, Erich von Stroheim was playing a German officer in World War I movie. And in the movie, there's this French farmhouse, which they were almost always two-story. Downstairs was the bar, and upstairs was the living quarters. He goes into the upstairs living quarters, and he finds the farm wife. Here's this evil German officer who's going to rape this innocent French farm woman. But the baby in the corner, and this is silent, so they keep cutting to the baby, and then a card's going, wah, wah. And every time he goes to get the baby, wahs. It's just finally too much for him. He's just annoying him. He's not enjoying it. He can't get into it. He goes over, he grabs the baby, walks to the window, and throws it out.
Oh, God, that's pure evil.
He was so hated by the women of America that he would walk down the street in Hollywood and Beverly Hills, and they would spit on him.
Wow.
Yeah, see, that's a villain. He should have been on our wanted poster, but World War I's not a Western.
So have any of the characters on your list here, these evil wanted poster guys, Have any of them suffered the same kind of a reaction by the public to the roles that they played?
Oh, you know exactly who. I know. Who
Well,
you're
Bruce
going
Dern, obviously. You know, you don't shoot John Wayne.
Good point.
And to this day, when I see Bruce Dern on some picture, it's like boo, boo.
He's played some pretty nutty,
He has.
psychotic
He has.
characters.
And his daughter's done so as well.
Right? Yeah. Well, he just looks nutty.
I was going to say he looks the part.
Although one of my favorite movies of all time, not a Western, called Silent Running. It's
that's a
it's
beautiful
science
movie.
fiction.
Beautiful
And
movie.
and he is nutty, but he's sort of endearingly nutty in that movie. Great movie.
And that's a one-man show.
It is pretty much a one-man show. Him and the little robots,
Yeah.
Curly
Yeah.
and Mo. So
Well, here's
So talk about these bad guys that are played, and what that does to their persona, and what that does to the perception of those people in public and in the trade.
okay. I want to jump from Bruce Dern to another guy, but first I want to go. The character's name on the poster would have been Asa Longhair Watts. Longhair. That's he had two names in it. The real character's name was Asa Watts, but most of the time when you look it up on the thing, it says Longhair.
Okay.
And that was just because he was scraggly hair. But, again, my notes,
No idea who this is.
killed John Wayne. They don't get any better. And that's it. Now, but this is the guy. This is the guy. This is one
Crazy
of my...
Bruce Dern. The eyes. Even worse than Jack Nicholson in The
Yes.
Shining.
Yeah. And he was in the 50s and 60s, he was the king of the biker movies.
That's true.
Yeah. But this is the guy who I think is one of the greatest bad guys of all time. And he was almost lovable. We talked about him last night. Waco Johnny Dean. Recognize the name? You should. That's one of the most recognizable bad guy names.
Who is it?
Waco Johnny Dean.
Tell us.
Dan Duryea.
And would you ever think Dan Duryea would be that evil as you've described him?
He was the Richard Widmark of his day. He played sleazy, bad, crooked, nasty, but he was also could be so charming. That was part of the thing of his bad guys, is that they had a likability to them. Waco Johnny Dean is he's a happy, laughing, cold-blooded killer. He's kind of like Burt Lancaster in Veracruz.
Yeah.
Very likable, but this guy he's like a rattlesnake, and that's the way he is. And again with this movie here, you also got Steve McNally, who's Jimmy Stewart's brother, who was one of the most evil bad guys of all time too. He kills his own dad, and he kills anybody and everybody.
So they're fighting for the worst person in the world award. And
Almost. But it's like Dean's death scene is, Stewart gets the drop on him in the cantina, slams his head face into beans, and so they're going out. And this guy doesn't quit. He's going out, and as he's passing, there's a guy coming in. He makes a grab for his gun in the holster, and of course Stewart blasts him away. But it just, I could watch that. I could watch him over and over and over. And of course, one of my favorite series when I was a kid was a thing called China Smith, which was a soldier of fortune in the South Seas just before World War II. And so, he was like dealing with Japs and crooked warlords and crooked merchants, and just it was a fun show.
I don't remember that one. Do you remember that one, Harry?
No, I have to look that one up.
I'm very much into obscure.
So Dan Duryea, though, in later films that he did in the 50s and in the 60s, did play a more mainstream sort of a character. He could be
Yeah.
that bad guy.
He did a
I
whole
guess.
series with Audie Murphy. I think one of them was it wasn't Six Black Horses, but he did about 2 or 3 with Audie Murphy, and again he was a super likable bad guy. In fact, in one of them, Murphy's taking him back to jail, and his old gang is trying to free him, so they're held up in this cave, and the guys are shooting in there, and he gets hit with a ricochet. And he looks at Murphy and he goes, "Can you believe this? An innocent bystander wounded." I mean, he just, he was like, I know the humor came out of the writing, but when you watched it, it felt like it was coming out of the character.
So let's get back to evil females.
Oh, okay. I mean,
You like those evil females.
Well, it's just that we don't normally think of females as evil and despicable and on the wanted poster. Barbara Stanwyck is I think beautiful, strong,
diabolical.
and diabolical. Okay, yeah, you said it. Talk about Barbara Stanwyck.
Okay, well, there was a lady named Martha Wilkinson. Anybody recognize the movie?
Wilkerson or Wilkinson?
Wilkinson.
Wilkerson.
So not related to you, Ab.
No.
Well, she was, but the family changed the spelling because she was so bad.
So bad.
And the movie is called The Violent Men with Glenn Ford, Edward G. Robinson, and I think that's one of the few westerns. Oh, actually, Robinson was in McKinnis Gold and another one.
I always find it so interesting that a guy like Edward G. Robinson is in the Ten Commandments, and he's in Western movies. When I think everybody remembers him from being Little Caesar. He was always the bad guy in all those gangster movies in the 30s and early 40s.
Yeah, him and Jimmy Stewart.
Right.
Jimmy Cagney.
George Raft.
Yeah.
George Raft.
Yeah, great movies though.
So Barbara Stanwyck, talk about her character.
Okay. Anyhow, she's the wife of Edward G. Robinson, and
Another mismatch.
Yeah.
He's about 4'0", and she's got to be 5'6", 5'8", or so.
oh yeah, and on top of that, his character is a paraplegic. He's on crutches, so he doesn't get around. But he's the husband, and of course he's got a very good-looking brother, who's played by Brian Keith, and I think this is one of Brian Keith's first movies. And he's pretty slick, and they're messing around on the old man and plotting on how to get rid of him somewhere down the road. But they have a run-in somehow or another. I can't remember that detail with Glenn Ford, who's a rancher, just come back from the Civil War, tougher than hell, and basically it becomes a war between Ford and the ranch, not Robinson, although he's been manipulated into thinking, this guy's encroaching on me and all this stuff. And it moves, and it's an interesting side. She gets killed in it, of course, but she gets killed not by the good guys, not by her own bad guys, but by a woman that was killed by the bad guys. She was the woman of one of the guys killed. When she's escaping out of the burning ranch out the gate, the woman meets her and shoots her in the gut, and she dies.
Barbara Stanwyck dies that way?
Oh yeah, dies in the dust. Got shot.
So she got hers.
She got her it's the old Hollywood code. Go to jail or get killed. That's it. And she wasn't going to jail. Not Barbara Stanwyck.
So were there any female bad girls who had that kind of persona? I mean, Barbara Stanwyck played a lot of
Strong women.
strong women and evil women. I mean, I sort of perceived her, in her various movies as she had great potential for evil,
Oh yeah,
and she was a plotter.
yeah, and also very driven. One of those persons where there's a good person or a bad person. She's a driven person, obsessed. And that's the thing. And you see her with Robinson in this, the playing up to him, being the good wife, and then turning right around almost the minute she's out the door, being the scheming, evil, plotting person. And of course, the ranch house is set on fire, and she throws his crutches into the fire. I mean, the only thing she didn't do is kick the dog.
It's the little touches sometimes
Yeah.
that makes a character. Just real quick.
I want to go back to Shane for just
ahead.
a minute. I just want to talk about because the dog. When Ladd goes in to have the final shootout with Riker
Right.
and Wilson, there's a dog there by the door. He's in a lot of the movie, not the kid's dog. This is another dog. The dog is there, and Ladd and Palance, they're building up to the gunfight. The dog gets up and walks out. He's not going to stick around for the gunfight. He knew what was coming.
Sure. Talk about. Can we talk about for a second in Shane, Elisha Wood,
Elisha Cook.
Cook? Sorry. Did he ever play a normal person? I mean, he always seemed to be that kind of that screwy guy. I mean, I think of his character, for example, in Electric Light and Blue, when he played the kind of this incoherent character who was aware of this murder that had occurred and so on. He like sniffed sterno or some kind of weird thing at the time. I mean, did he?
Look, Maltese Falcon. I mean, he was there. They did a documentary. This was back in the late 50s. Death scenes in movies. It was a weird topic, but they did it. And the one that was voted the very best death scene, it was in one of the gangster movies. He's in an alley, and he has the confrontation with, I don't know if he's a good guy or bad. I'm assuming he's a bad guy, but he gets shot. And he takes about 3 or 4 steps back against the wall. He's wearing this top coat. And I swear to God, he looked like he was shrinking inside that top coat. And like the top coat was staying there, and he was going down to the ground. It was, but
That's something.
It is. I'll tell you. You look at that thing and you think, my God, that guy knows how to die.
Glenn, again, I'm going to save a question here after you answer this one. Glenn Ford, his cowboy hat. Did he use that same cowboy hat? From
Well,
picture to picture to picture.
He had a black hat and a white hat, and both of them he would use them. But here's the thing: when you do a picture like that, like when we did, by the time we did Heaven with a Gun, I had a black hat that was a Resistol that looked exactly like his hat. In fact, we got a picture with him down there, and it looks like with the hat, somebody might say, "Oh, well, you're doubling him." No, it was just I had a hat like that. But what happens is over the years, that they take their hat home, a lot of them. Well, when he does another picture, wardrobe goes, "Can I see the hat for a couple of days?" And they'll make a half a dozen hats that look just exactly like it.
With the sweat and the
Sweat, the
grime
frame,
and
the
everything
curl,
else,
the
right?
twist. And so by the time, it may become a point where he goes home and he looks and he goes, they look exactly alike.
Which
This
one's
one
which?
feels better. Okay.
One's
There
going to
goes
smell
the-
worse than the other, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jimmy Stewart did the same thing.
Yeah,
There's a
very
great
right.
hat story with him when he did Liberty Valance. He goes to Ford, and he goes, Mr. Ford, I got this hat I wear all the time. Could I wear this hat? And Ford goes, okay. Guess what? When you watch the movie, he doesn't wear a hat in the whole movie.
Oh, that's funny.
That was Ford. Just Ford's sense of humor.
That is funny.
We've got to wrap up in a couple minutes here. I think you also did some investigation in Silence.
Yes, I did.
Movies.
That was frustrating because it kept giving me William S. Hart, who was a bad guy that always ended up good, which to me, the character may have been on the wanted poster at the beginning of the movie, but by the end of the movie, he was the sheriff.
Well, Hell's Hinges is a perfect example
Yeah.
of that, where he is the bad guy, and turns out he's a good guy at the end of the movie.
He gets into the saloon, and the Hell's Hinges is like probably the epitome of a hell town. Mm-hmm. And he gets in there, and the guy running the saloon sicks this saloon girl on him, and he's such a bad guy that he's noble. So he just
so?
noble. It's like he has manners. He has respect. This is a woman. She's still a woman. She's a saloon girl. But she's a saloon girl. And that sounds weird because here's this outlaw cowboy who you're thinking, well, that's what I want. I want a saloon girl. Deep in his heart, which you don't know yet, is he wants a nice girl. He wants, like his mom or somebody like that, his auntie. He doesn't want a saloon girl. Well, a preacher and his sister come to town. And the preacher is preaching redemption and saving the town and converting everybody. And it's impeding the saloon guy's business. So he sicks the saloon girl on him.
On the preacher.
And he is susceptible. So he ends up drunk and desolate. And
In the meantime, Hart has fallen in love with the sister of the preacher.
And she's still a sweet girl, like the kind that in his wistful cowboy heart, it's like Conager. He falls in love with a woman who writes poetry and sticks it on a tumbleweed. He's never met her. He's just fallen in love with her. That's cowboy mentality for you. We're not the brightest of folks. But anyhow, the bad guys do some despicable things to the point that he says, that's it. He burns the town down.
Well, they burned the town.
William S. Hart.
Yeah.
No, they burned the bad guys burned down the town.
But because of him.
Well, yeah, but they start the church on fire first, and then it spreads to the rest of the town.
Now, there's some bad guys, church burners.
Yeah, they burned the church. Well, they didn't want him in there in the first place. Interesting story. That whole set was built north of the INSA studios, and it was built with the explicit purpose of burning it down.
The Hollywood Hills are burning.
Here again. So
Was Lee Van Cleef ever on a wanted poster?
Oh,
If he wasn't, he should have been.
Angel Eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I've got another bad guy from the Silence, and this is an interesting one. Three Bad Men is the movie. It's Sheriff Lane Hunter. He's not on the wanted poster. He's the guy that's enforcing the wanted poster. And it was played by a guy named Louis Tellegren, who was described as the Jack Elam of the silent era.
that's a great description.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've seen this movie several times, and in this particular movie, he's more of a fop sheriff, which can be kind of, but he's still bad and evil. But I was looking up at his IMDb, and I mean, this guy goes into 300-400 movies, and he played mostly bad guys and mostly westerns.
And what was his outcome?
Oh, he was.
He was an evil guy in
Are you
everyone?
killing me?
So, and his name again?
The three bad men in the movie killed him because they turned out to be three good men. This is the three bad. It was kind of a variation of Three Godfathers, except there was no baby involved.
Which we've talked about before has been done in different kind of settings in several different movies over the years, right?
Yeah, you adapt, you change. The old 1930 B westerns. Some of those pictures were done 5 and 6 times. Just change the characters, change a couple of things, change the name of the picture, change the horse the hero's riding, whatever, In fact, sometimes they'd redo it and use stock footage from the original one.
So what's the lesson from the bad people? Okay, I mean the purpose of a villain in a movie, the legitimacy it gives the movie and the story. Talk about that before we sign off today.
Well, just think of it in storytelling, in mythology. You've got the gods, but the gods have got to have challenges. A Hercules, he has all these. A lot of his challenges aren't bad guys. It's nature and things like that. Something to overcome. It's about, as Joseph Campbell says, it's the quest. It's finding you're finding your destination, your destiny. And, you have no destiny if you have no challenges. And that's what the bad guys are. Those are the bumps in the road that the hero has to overcome. Sometimes that bump is a mountain. You have to conquer the mountain. It can be, it could be the raging river. It doesn't have to be a man, but it's so much easier and more convenient to make it a man. River of No Return with Robert Mitchum is a perfect example of the river is the dominant bad force in the movie. It dominates the movie. They're surviving. Roy Calhoun, who deserts them
Another
and then
great
comes
character.
back. I don't know. It's like there's like a simplicity and a Gordon Knott of complexity. And a good villain is, I think, the best villains are the most complex ones, because you Hannibal Lecter, here's this charming, any lady in the world would be more than happy to go to dinner with him. They wouldn't be happy to be the dinner, but they'd be happy to go to dinner. And that's it. It's again, when you start investigating evil and bad guys, it's a dominant factor in the. If we didn't have evil and bad guys, we wouldn't have churches and synagogues.
That's true. That's
Because
true.
we need the bad guy. You got to have a devil. There's a movie. It's not in the list, and it wouldn't be. There's Devil and Daniel Webster.
Another great movie.
Houston, the dad. I can't think of his first name.
Walter Houston.
Walter Houston, and I can't remember the guy playing Daniel Webster, but Houston plays the devil in this, and the devil is a bad, especially in the 1930s in the movie. There's no way he's going to be the good guy, but in the movie you're almost rooting for him because he is just so slick. He has this charm, this oozing devilish charm that makes you kind of like him. Who was the actor that played Daniel Webster?
So back to Robert Mitchum on the river, and take it to modern days.
Yeah.
The original Cape Fear.
Yeah.
When he played the later Robert De Niro character, I don't remember very many people who are as craven and evil and rotten to the core.
Edward Arnold. Okay, Robert Mitchum again, and I think I've got him on the list here somewhere. Night of the Hunter. Now, wait a minute. In fact, I know where he is here. Where is he? Come on, where are you? Maybe
I think we're going to need to leave it there. Eb, you're going to take us out today.
Hey, Insiders, that's going to do it for us today. Check our Facebook and X pages for the latest news and our views on the news. All of our great Inside Track podcasts are available on Live the Dream Media and Facebook. Thanks for joining us today. Until next Wednesday when we return, this is Eb Wilkinson.
And Bruce Ash. And
And-
the two Galoots from Voice of the West.
Wishing you a very good rest of the morning. Be sure to join us again in 167 hours.
All right.
Adios.